The third movie in the Equalizer series might be the last one, but there's talk about a possible fourth movie. The director, Antoine Fuqua, mentioned that it could show a younger version of McCall, using digital effects, or even star Denzel Washington's son, John David. However, it's not confirmed yet if there will be another movie. Some people thought that the third movie would end with McCall dying, but that didn't happen. Instead, it closes with McCall finding peace within himself and choosing to embrace it. The Equalizer 3 feels like an ending, but it doesn't rule out the possibility of a fourth movie. If there is another sequel, it could show McCall back on a mission of revenge, explaining that retirement didn't suit him. Since Collins is now established as his new ally, she might come to him for help on a new mission that requires his unique skills. While a new movie isn't guaranteed, there are hints that Denzel Washington might not return for The Equalizer 4 if it happens. That's why The Equalizer 3 is likely the true end of Robert McCall's story instead of setting up for another adventure. Throughout the movie, there's a mystery about why McCall is helping a CIA agent named Collins. They become friends, but McCall never explains why he reached out to her. The last scene in Collins' office, after she survived a bomb planted by the Camorra, solves this mystery. McCall gives her his black book and leaves a message saying her mother, Susan Plummer, would be proud. When Collins looks at a graduation picture on her desk, we find out she's the daughter of friends Susan and Brian. McCall acts like a mentor to Collins and shares his book of names and secrets with her. This gesture shows that McCall is guiding her to become a great agent, just like her mother, Susan. It's also a sign that McCall is ready to retire from his vigilant ways. In the movie, there's a big side story where Collins is investigating drug shipments hidden in wine bottles from the vineyard McCall raided. These drugs are called the jihad drug, and they're being sold by Syrian terrorists to finance their activities. McCall discovers that the Camorra, the villainous group, is buying these drugs and supporting terrorism. To stop this, McCall involved the CIA. In the end, McCall makes Vincent, the leader of the Camorra, experience the consequences of his actions. He forces Vincent to take a fatal dose of these pills. McCall then walks with the escaping Camorra chief into the village and waits until he succumbs to the overdose, ensuring that the villain faces justice for his involvement in funding terrorism. In The Equalizer 3, the villains, known as the Camorra, are portrayed as extremely evil without much depth. They commit heinous acts, such as hanging an old man from a window and cutting off a subordinate's hand. Additionally, they extort protection money from various stores in Altamonte, the seaside village. Vincent, the leader of the Camorra, has grander plans for Altamonte. He aims to build resorts and casinos to attract tourists, which would require displacing the local population. Despite the hospitality shown to McCall by the villagers, he realizes Vincent's sinister intentions and decides to stop him. McCall makes it clear that he won't allow Vincent to ruin the peaceful community and force its residents out of their homes for his own gain. This adds a layer of moral conflict to McCall's mission as he stands up against the villain's ruthless schemes. In the beginning of The Equalizer 3, it feels like a slasher film when a mob boss returns home to his vineyard and finds his men's bodies scattered around. The remaining henchmen confront McCall in a cellar, but he easily defeats them. Before this, McCall hints that he's there because they took something that didn't belong to them, and he's later seen carrying a mystery backpack. It's only in the final scenes that he reveals to Collins what's inside. McCall explains that the mob stronghold was involved in cybercrime and stole the pension of a retired man in Boston named Greg Dyer. McCall had given Greg a ride in a lift, and when he learned about the theft, he came to Italy with the sole purpose of returning the stolen $360,000. Collins is puzzled about why McCall would go to such lengths for a total stranger, but when she hands over the bag and witnesses the joy it brings to Greg and his wife, she begins to understand the compassionate motivation behind McCall's actions. On the flip side, a significant theme in The Equalizer 3 revolves around the notion that people ultimately end up where they are meant to be. By the conclusion of the third installment, McCall seems to have discovered his rightful place. The movie portrays a darker side of McCall, still haunted by the death of his best friend Susan in the second film and his betrayal by former colleagues. His approach to dealing with enemies becomes more sadistic and brutal, with a clear intent to inflict pain. However, McCall rediscovers his humanity when the village embraces him with kindness. After defeating Vincent, he returns to Altamonte and is shown beaming as he participates in a village celebration. By passing on his black book to Collins, it suggests that McCall has genuinely abandoned the vigilante life. The ending of The Equalizer 3 doesn't hint at a potential sequel, and if this is indeed the final chapter, it provides a satisfying conclusion to McCall's character journey. Denzel Washington's character Robert McCall faces peril throughout The Equalizer 3, but he doesn't meet his end by the time the credits roll. Initially, it seems like McCall might succumb to danger, having been shot in the back early in the film, leaving his health in critical condition. However, thanks to a local's surgical intervention, McCall stabilizes, and the movie opts to keep the heroic character alive, either for a happy ending or to potentially set the stage for a sequel, deviating from the fate of those who perish in The Equalizer 3. As discussions arise about Equalizer 4, an alternative solution is proposed, recasting Denzel Washington's role with that of his son, John David Washington. The physical resemblance between the two actors makes it plausible for John David to portray a younger Robert McCall without resorting to digital de-aging. With John David Washington in his 40s by the time of Equalizer 4, the prequel could explore McCall's earlier years. Having showcased his action movie prowess in films like Tenet and The Creator, John David Washington could effectively step into his father's shoes, offering a fresh perspective to a character familiar to audiences. Recasting with John David Washington presents an opportunity for a unique father and son dynamic in the franchise, providing a novel direction for Equalizer 4 compared to the potential de-aging of Denzel Washington. De-aging Denzel for Equalizer 4 could pose significant challenges and might not guarantee success due to the complexity of the technology. While there are successful instances of de-aging in movies, there is an equal risk of encountering difficulties. Denzel Washington has an extensive filmography from his younger years that Equalizer 4 could draw upon for a de-aged appearance, potentially aiding the overall result. However, de-aging actors introduce additional concerns beyond facial likeness. One recurring issue with de-aging actors in action films is that the characters often exhibit movements and behaviors that make them feel older than their visually younger selves. Notable examples include Samuel L. Jackson's de-aged Nick Fury in Captain Marvel and Robert De Niro in The Irishman. Viewers observed that these characters moved as if they were in their 70s, despite their faces being digitally de-aged by several decades. If Equalizer 4 envisions Robert McCall in action-packed scenarios as a younger version, the same problem could arise with de-aging Denzel Washington. The effectiveness of the de-aging CGI becomes crucial, as any shortcomings could further amplify these concerns. And that's that for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one. Your suggestions for future videos are always welcome in the comments below.